to the second video in our berm and swale project.
Now, if you need a refresher, you don't know what a berm and swale is. So a swale is basically a depression in the ground that you put on contour, perpendicular to the flow of water, that will catch sheet flowing rainwater, and then you put a berm on the other side of it. You plant it with trees and grasses. It creates fire breaks, wind breaks, catches, stores, and diverts water. It's a good thing.
In our last video, we went ahead and marked our first berm and swale with our permaculture specialist, Rudy Poe. We made sure to take into account existing buildings as well as plan for future buildings.
So if you haven't seen that, make sure you go watch that video here so you're all caught up. Today is a very exciting day because this is when the machinery comes in. We actually get to dig this thing out for the first time.
It's also exciting because this is our first project that we've actually hired help.
Yeah, it's a little weird. We're not digging by hand, so we're a little nervous, but this is a big step on the property. Now, if you watched the last video, you might remember that Rudy had some specific ideas on how to instruct the backhoe operator to dig this berm and swale in a way that would minimize our handwork after the fact. Here it is again, in case you missed it.
Gonna be right here. That's your berm. So what we're gonna instruct our operator to do on the backhoe. Here's the backhoe. He's gonna use his arm and scoop out here and then dump here. Scoop, dump. Scoop dump. And then while he's doing that, we're gonna instruct him to smooth this out as much as he can with the arm to minimize their work. And then once he's done with that, the whole length, he's gonna take this backhoe and use the front loader part of it and just go through and flatten and clear and make it look all nice. He's gonna do that through the middle, and then he's gonna do that also on the edge to kind of shape that edge real nicely.
Now, I will say that this changed just a little bit once Mark, our neighbor, actually got here and he showed us what he could do with his tractor. Rudy's initial idea was to use the front loader and drive through, but then also kind of drive on an angle to get that 3-to-1 slope on the back side of the swale. Mark was like, no, I got a better idea. So he just took his whole tractor, lifted it up at an angle, and then used the bucket and just scraped it at an angle.
Yeah.
And then he went through with the front loader at the very end.
Having him tilt the tractor and do that little bit of slope is like going to really save us on a lot of our handwork. So I'm glad he thought of that.
Yeah, we will still have to go back and do just a little bit of work there, but he simplified it for us a whole lot. All right, let's get started. It's a big day.
Things are changing here in the homestead.
Things are happening.
Are never going to be the same day.
That's true.
Things are going to happen.
We are literally cutting the first berm and swale right through the center of our property, going from corner to corner.
We are going mostly on contour, except for near the driveway.
So we're running it along the driveway and then hitting
on
the
contour.
Yeah.
And we're going to be planting trees. We're going to be planting grasses.
It's going to be a huge project. It's going to take a while, but today's the first day. We're cutting that. We're working with Rudy is here, and he's helping us make sure we get all the grades right. And we've got our neighbor here with his tractor, so
I'm just ready to be done with this project. This is a huge part of what we need to get done before we can begin our house. This swale and berm determine exactly where our house is going. So it's kind of a big moment.
It is. It's a big deal. It's a huge infrastructure thing. It's a huge deal for catching and diverting water and like protecting the property.
And it's right before monsoon season starts, so
we're gonna see it in action. Yeah.
Okay. We gotta get over here.
We got stuff to do. Yeah.
So we need to. We gotta go home.
And we gotta trim some trees.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, all right. So the first part went pretty good. It was a straight shot in front of the driveway and then started to go up to the solar shed, but then we had to pause because we got to a critical area.
Right. Maybe you remember when we built our solar shed, we ran electrical lines from our solar shed to our water pump house that powers our RV.
Yeah, and thankfully all the other wires, like to our solar panels and everything, that was going to fall behind the Berm swale, so that wasn't a problem. But that one line, we had to decide what we were going to do. I have a fly in my face. But that one line, we had to decide what to do. And really, we had to find it because, guys, if you're going to lay conduit, you should really mark it a little better. We didn't mark it great, so we spent like 30 or 45 minutes digging around in the dirt trying to find it. We finally found it, and we marked it so that Mark could not hit it when he got over to that area. So actually that whole area near the conduit was pretty complicated. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Right. We have a huge tree, we have a solar shed, and we have a power line.
Yes, and we decided that the swale was going to actually go over the conduit, up next to the solar shed. It should have gone through the mesquite tree, but we wanted to save it, and then it had to go up the rest of the way. So because it was so tight there, our backhoe operator he could only get so close, right, without messing things up. So he dug as much as he could there. It was pretty shallow, and then we're going to have to go back by hand and kind of tweak that area.
Now, once we got past this tricky area near the solar shed and the mesquite tree, everything was pretty smooth sailing from there on.
We just had to trim a few trees back. The final step was to install a culvert. Now, usually culverts are put in so that water, like lots of water, can flow through them and not wash out like a road or a driveway. In this case, we were really just connecting both sides of the swale because we needed an area to drive over up near the solar shed to get up to this area behind us for a number of reasons. And so we just got a 12-inch culvert. We got it placed right, and then Mark filled it in and ran over it and compacted it and got it ready.
I will say we did make one mistake with this culvert.
Yeah.
We opted for the cheaper route of only getting a 10-foot culvert.
Because on paper, I'm like, well, everything that would drive over it would be 8 foot. Should be fine, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but that is very tight. So we may need to come back and install some sleeves and make that a little bit wider.
Also, another thing that we did wrong is that we didn't extend the berm in front of that culvert. Now, not that you want like a 2 or 3 foot high berm there, but by not putting any kind of mound there and by not building that area up high enough, we've created another spillway, which is not what we want. We want to keep the one spillway in the one spot over this way.
So we're going to be transferring some dirt here in the near future.
Yeah, we got to build up that area to make sure that it doesn't overflow long term.
I still can't believe that we have our first Berm and Swale here on our property, and I'm so glad that we hired that out.
It was so hard because if you've been watching our videos, you know that we've had very minimal like machinery in here. We've done so much of this by hand. And let me just say, if you're doing a project like this, make sure you hire somebody who has a lot of experience.
He did this in like less than, what, 8 hours?
Yeah, it took him less than a day.
Yeah.
But also, this is very detailed, technical, complicated work. It's not just digging a trench. It's not just pushing some dirt around. And you really have to know how to use that machine. And so we're really glad that we found out that our neighbor who lives right down the road is really good at this. Now, if you live in this area and you want to hire Mark, which highly recommended, he's awesome, you can go to tinyshinyhome.com/contact and just send us an email. We'll get you in touch with him. And while I'm talking about hiring people, if you need to hire Rudy, our permaculture specialist, which you totally should, you can go to this website, you can get in touch with him, tell him we sent you.
I thought you were going to say, like, if you want to hire us for something.
Oh, why would they hire us?
I don't know. I could make pasta or something.
We could give them eggs.
Like we said before, this is a huge step here on our property. Now we have a great idea of where our pond will go and our house.
Now, just because we have this cut in doesn't mean that everything's great. In fact, Rudy is going to come back in the next video. We're going to double check all of our contour and our level and figure out why part of the swale isn't actually filling up with water during the rains. Should be a fun one. So I guess that's it for today's Berm and Swale project.
We'll see you next time.